All right, friends, we are so dang close to firing this thing up. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of work to be done after the fact. We'll discover a lot of things, I'm sure, but at least to fire it up and make sure, that I didn't completely screw anything up, we're very, very close, and the goal is to do that shortly. So the last piece of the puzzle to accomplish that is the three-prong power cord. So I'm going to quickly run you guys through kind of what the game plan is. So I've got this connection right here. This will be for the earth. Now this, as I mentioned before, was a brass screw and nut. It's been replaced with stainless steel hardware, nylock nut on the other side, lock washers, and this little tag with the little teeth on it. So it's a very solid connection. This serves two roles. This connection actually holds the aluminum chassis, the top part, to the steel chassis, the bottom part. So it's important that's very sturdy. And then it also provides a really good ground connection that's not going anywhere, and it's isolated, which is what you want for the earth. And then from there, we'll go hot to the fuse tip. We've got this little lead that was here originally. This will go over to the switch here. And the other end, the remaining end on the switch, because it's got 4 posts, will be for the neutral. So we got the neutral, we'll have the fuse right here. And then these two are for the power transformer. And I'm just hardwiring it for the USA voltage because I have no intention of going overseas with this. So it just seems pointless to wire this up. And I also don't have the original voltage selector. It was already modified to have a plate covering it. So I'm not going to go ahead and try and fix that. I've got all these heat shrunk out of the way so they're protected, and then silicone so it's not moving anywhere. So should be good to go there. Now, heating up the soldering iron, we're going to go ahead. I already redid this connection because it actually broke off. So just to be safe, I'm going to redo this connection. And then, yeah, no big chassis iron needed for this, which is nice. So it should be very quick and straightforward. And then we can grab the current limiter, grab the variac, and yeah, fire it up. So I'm just tinning that a little bit, and we'll go. I already took the fuse out. So it looks like before the wire was just literally wrapped around this. I don't really know. I've never seen that before. So I'm just going to kind of clean it up a little bit and just see what I'm working with. Yeah, so it appears that you just kind of wrap it around and solder it on. So I'm not going to remove the solder because that'll make the connection easier, and we'll just keep it like that. As far as three-prong, I'm going with a gray power cord. I'm trying out another one actually from a local Ace Hardware store. I saw it and I figured I'd give it a shot. So we've got a gray power cord here. And it's pretty heavy duty. It's honestly a little heavier duty than I would normally like, but I don't really want to wait to order another gray one, and the black ones I have, I just would rather this be gray. So that's what we're going to go with. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the black lead shorter because we're just going here to the fuse tip. I want to give myself a little bit of flex here so I have a little bit more room to wiggle around. So probably go about there. And really the goal is just to make sure the green lead, so we'll go about, yeah, it should be fine, maybe about there. Just to make sure the earth connection is the longest of the connections. Not really sure how much I'm going to need to do this, to wrap it around the fuse tip, but we'll try this first. Something along those lines, I guess. So I'm going to try and get it into the rough shape I want before tinning it, because then it's much more difficult to do that after I've tinned it. So something along those lines. That should be good. I wonder if it's better to go underneath like this, so it's like a little bit of a connection. I've never done this sort of connection before, so I'm not sure if it's better to tin it now and hopefully it holds its shape, press it on, and then solder it. Let's give that a shot. This is how I learn, folks, and you get to watch me do it in real time. Or more or less real time. So I think I'm just gonna, because I don't want it to move. It's a pretty sturdy wire. So that looks pretty good. So now hopefully this will still fit. And it does. That's good. So now we're going to add a bunch of solder, and it will inevitably flatten a bit. So I'm actually going to push on it from this side. Let's get some solder here first, actually, as I burn the insulation. Wow, that actually worked great. That looks really good. Let me just get a little bit more on here. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, actually. So that's a little goofy. It's just exposed because that's the hot, but I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do there. I've never seen that before. So you're supposed to heat shrink that? How would you heat shrink that? I'm not sure. Anyways, let's go ahead and move on. So let's go and grab our switch. So now we're going to go ahead and connect the neutral, and we want this to be shorter. So I'm just going to see what the length needs to be for that to reach. Okay, so it can cut approximately there. And again, just making sure the ground connection is the longest of the 3 wires. All right, and the last connection we need to make, we'll be reusing this red wire that was here originally. I think it is an original wire. That's going to go from there to here. And if you remember, this was not actually connected to anything. It was wrapped around the post, not actually through the eyelet, which is crazy. So not to say that this was originally done that way. It was obviously messed with when the other person put in a 3-prong, but I think they just forgot to solder it, which is always fun. All right, let's get this soldered. All right, with that, we've got the switch all connected here. So let's just go ahead and get this where we want it to go. All right, so we've got the switch back in. It's very, very tight. And now we just got to worry about getting this soldered, and then we can do the ground. So we will cut this shorter, but I'm just kind of seeing what my options are here. So we could go like that, but it is covering the screw that way. I do like how it's kind of very out of the way. But I think we're going to have to go like this. Which is not too bad. All right, let's go ahead and solder that in. First, kind of tin the wire here. And now I'm going to try and get the solder tip on both the wire and the actual metal. I'm doing that because obviously I want both to heat up for there to be a very solid connection. All right, I'm pretty happy with that, and yeah, that marks the end of the 3-prong, and really the end of the necessary work to be able to fire this thing up. So we still got to bias it. We still got to check all the components, see if there's any leaky voltage on any of these WEMAs. There's so much work to be done still, but man, I'm excited to finally plug it in. So I think the plan now is I'm just going to visually look over everything one more time just to really quadruple check that everything is in its right place. Anything I touched, make sure all the solder joints that I touched look solid, and then we'll hook it up to a variac and a current limiter, and yeah, hope for the best, I guess. Pretty stoked though. Okay, it is time, the moment I have been waiting for. Did I do it correctly? Did I mess anything up? Will it fire up? Let's find out. So just as a quick reminder, I've got the 3-prong plugged into my current limiter here. And then from there, it's going to the variac, so I can slowly bring it up. So make sure the amp is powered on, and all of the controls are turned all the way down. And I do have the tubes in it, and I am just loading it with the tubes that it came with. The only exception would be the 12, gosh, what was it? I think it was AT7, I think is what it called for, EC82, I believe, and it had a tube in it that I never heard of, a GE tube I mentioned in the very first video of this series. So I got a JJ replacement. That's the only one. Everything else was exactly how it came, and it did function. So I'm kind of treating those as known working tubes. Same thing with the bias. It was biased with this 75 ohm resistor, and it functioned. So if we have any issues with the bias, they can't be that bad because it was working before. So that's my thought process. Now let's go ahead and, can't forget, it is also, of course, plugged into the 212 speaker cab, 16 ohm output. And yeah, I think that's all of my T's crossed and I's dotted. So let's just go ahead, got a fuse in it. Go ahead and slowly bring up the variac. I don't know if the light bulb is going to light or not because it did not before. I did take it out and clean the contacts just to be sure, but it very well could be burnt out, so we won't know. So I'm going to give it about 50 volts. Looking at my current limiter, don't see anything. So now that we're at 50 volts, I'm going to grab my multimeter and just start checking some things real quick. So first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that we are in fact getting voltage from the wall. Got it set to AC. Quick little test here on our ground. And we got 50 volts going into it, so that's good. Switch over to DC, and let's start bringing it up. So we're now up to 70 volts. Let me look and see if I can see any lighting on the tubes. Okay, I do see the rectifier is lit. Once I get up to 100 volts, I'm going to go over to the speaker, put my ear next to it to see if I can hear anything. All right, current limiter is lit, but very, very lightly. It would be much brighter if there's a massive issue. And I am hearing a hum from the amplifier. 110 volts. And we're going to go ahead and stop right there. And I'm going to see what we're getting on the heaters here. So at 110 volts, we're getting just about 5 volts AC. We're at 118. Let's see what the heaters are at now. About 5.5, so we're good to go up to 120. There we are, we're at 120. I've got a guitar plugged in. Let's see if we get any sound. Let me turn on the volume here. Okay, turning the Brilliant channel up, I do hear volume coming out. Normal, I hear volume. 5 trem, I hear that. All right, I think we got output, guys. Let me grab a guitar real quick. I didn't bother to even tune it or anything, just grabbed my Jazzmaster because it has a strap plugged into the Brilliant channel. Okay, cut control works, Brilliant channel works. Turn it up a little bit. Didn't grab a pick. I was honestly not thinking about it. All right, let's turn on the top boost card now. Quite a bit louder. Massive hum. but that is due to my guitar pointing at the transformer. So I'll show you guys real quick. Pointed away, pointed at it. So that's nothing to do. I'll turn the guitar around here. So we got the top boost on. Again, this has an on-off switch. So with the off, sounds like this. Turn it on. Quite a bit more gain. And middle position takes away 90% of the hum. Just loud single coils in here, but all right, awesome. Again, I do have the current limiter still in chain right now, so let's go ahead and turn it off, turn the variac off, and we will plug it directly into the wall, or into the variac rather, and so we have the current limiter out of the circuit. So let's do that real quick. I am so excited, guys. I'm sure the guitar is probably clipping there too, but man, I'm so excited. So I've got the current limiter out of the chain now, nothing's plugged into it, and we've got the amplifier connected directly to the variac. So we're going to go ahead and slowly bring up the voltage, and I'm going to go ahead and put one of these on the heaters so I can measure what those come out as once we get up to operating voltage. So our target is 6.3, so we're at 6 volts at 100. Yeah, 120. So we're at 120 volts from the wall. 6.7. I mean, it's too much. It's high, but it's not terrible. It's not the end of the world high. All right, those both work. Let's go ahead and move over to the normal channel. All right, that works. Let's try the other jack. So far, nothing making any scratchy noises. All right, that works. Very noisy with the chassis out on the bench, but that's to be expected. Now I'm really curious if the trem works, because it did not work before. I have no idea what trem setting I have it on. Do not hear any trem. Let's see if I can turn this in my hand without a knob on it. Not likely. All right, let's put a knob on it. Okay, so I've got knobs on it now. They're both all the way to the left, which means it should be using this 330K, and then it's in the vibe mode. So I have no idea if this is going to work or not. There's tons of caps and stuff in this that I bought replacements for that, yeah, I was anticipating probably having to change things out for. But yeah, let's see if it works. It's very light, the depth. Well, I honestly can't even tell if it's working at all. It sounds like there might be a faint little bit of trem in the background, but it's so faint I'm questioning whether it's even there or not. These don't seem to be making any difference that I can tell. So looks like we are down a trem channel. Now I did do this little bridge right here, which should make it so that I don't need a foot switch. But maybe I'll have to look back and make sure I did in the right spot. I'm pretty sure that is. Yeah, that has to be it. So I'm not sure. It should work. Could just be down to, you know, potentially the two preamp tubes that are in that position. Those could be an issue. So those, again, I don't know if they work or not because I only ever used the normal and brilliant channel when I first got it to test it. And these two preamp tubes right here are only for the Vibe Trem channel. So they could be bad tubes. We could have caps that are out of spec. There's lots of possibilities there. But either way, there is sound, which is good news. So audio passes through, which is, let's be honest, you know, the most important thing. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm actually very happy. It works. Everything seems to be functioning totally fine. I guess I can check the cut control one more time. Yep, cut control works just fine. Killer. I'm so excited, guys. I cannot even describe to you. I've pumped so many hours into this thing. You know, even just the hours I pumped just trying to learn what the heck I'm looking at. Yeah, I am so very pleased that it is functioning. And yeah, there's, I'm sure, more that we will have to figure out and dial in, but it sounds pretty good to me. You know, it's pretty late, so I can't play very much, but I don't hear any crackles or pops, which was all I heard before. This thing sounded like there was a popcorn machine going on in the background. So yeah, and the normal channel died when I was testing it, and then the brilliant channel didn't work at all, or the trem channel didn't work at all. So all of those issues are fixed. The top boost, it seems I did it correctly. The on-off switch seems to work. I can demonstrate that again. So this is without the top boost card engaged. Then turn it on. Your big jumping gain. So that seems to work just fine. It's a huge jump in volume, but I'm pretty sure that's to be expected. You're adding another gain stage in there. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Killer. I am so stoked. All right, I think we're going to end there tonight and reassess tomorrow, try out some different tubes, see if we can figure out what's going on with the Vibe Trem channel. But, I mean, otherwise, it seems to be a functioning 1964 Vox AC30. I mean, come on. It doesn't get much better than that. All right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for sticking along with me during this journey. We're not done, but yeah, thank you guys for getting to this point with me. All right. See you guys.